Hello, and welcome to that Eurovision podcast, Eurovision with a Slice of Life. My name is Rory, and I'm doing pretty well today. At the time of recording, I'm currently in self-isolation because I'm following all of the government guidelines and everything. And by the time this comes out, however, I will be out of self-isolation, so I'm just counting down the minutes, the hours, the days of it all. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to just reconnecting with everyone because it's been a couple of weeks. So yeah, joining me.
Hi, it's Rosie. I'm coming to you live from Tier 4. I'm hoping this is the largest tier we get into because I read somewhere that Tier 5 means you are no longer allowed to exist in bodily form. So, so very much hoping that Tier 4 is the worst we get, but I'm doing pretty well. I've been back home for Christmas to see my family and went on a very long dog walk today, which was lovely, if very, very muddy. And yeah, it's been strange times, but we make the best of them.
I mean, we have to. There's nothing really else we can do, is there?
I mean, if there wasn't any COVID, we wouldn't have this podcast. So
grateful for small mercies, I'd say.
Exactly. Tim here, and I'm back after a bit of a hiatus because, you know, I'm also over at ESC Extra, and I've been drowning with that work, but it's all fun. It's all fun, and thank you very much for your support as well. Also coming to you live from Tier 4. So, yeah, let's just hope we don't get any more higher tiers because I will go nuts. But other than that, we just wanted to thank you all for listening, and we hope you're having a good start to 2021. Yes. And of course, national final season.
Oh, yes, honestly, this is really where a Eurofan really comes into play. Because now we are officially in new national final season. I'm so thankful that we actually have something to report on now.
Oh God! But I'm just thinking now that like we've done a lot of perspectives, and then after the contest finished, like, oh great, we got to update those countries again.
Hey, that means that we've got a lot of new content to deliver, so I'm okay with that.
Exactly. The longer that this can go on for, like, I'm not going to complain too much.
Exactly.
We're missing someone.
Oh yeah,
we're missing someone on this podcast.
Oh yes, we are. Yes,
oh yeah.
Unfortunately, this week we are without a Jazzy, which is kind of strange because usually it's Tim that's not here, so it's kind of odd having someone else, you know. But no, it's okay. Jazzy is basically taking Soft Engine's advice and just looking for something better. So, I mean, we're hoping that she manages to get it, but if not, then it's okay because we're here for her and we're wishing her all the best. So yeah. So now that we are in national final season, things on this podcast are going to change just a slight little bit. So from now until pretty much the end of Eurovision season, so once the grand final's taken place, this will be more so of like a recap podcast. So we'll still obviously have certain aspects of what we've been talking about before in terms of like country perspectives and year retrospectives, maybe just to kind of break it up every now and again. But for the most part, we will still have a sort of news section, so with music and everything like that. So be prepared. From this podcast on, it's going to change just a little tiny bit. But if you want some extra more sort of up-to-date news about what we think about stuff, just please follow us on our actual website, which is thateurovisionpodcast.com, and then subscribe to your heart's content, really. That's all we can say.
Maybe someone will find out what an RSS feed is for.
Oh, yes. Hooray! Finally, it's actually getting used for something. Oh, dear. So, yeah, shall we kick this news sort of catch-up podcast off?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. So to get things going, I guess the main thing that's newsworthy at the moment is that we actually have our first actual song of 2021 in the shape of Karma by Angela Peristeri from Albania. So what did you guys think in terms of, like, you know, the song itself and in terms of Festivali Këngës? Because usually Festivali Këngës goes on for absolute, like, hours and hours and hours, but this time it was so much more efficient.
I think it's towards the end. I mean, just because of the fact that it's cold when they did it. Like, I mean, imagine doing the show outside and you're just like...
In December
try not,
as well.
Yeah, try not to freeze in that stage.
Like, you could really tell some of them were struggling, and honestly, I don't blame them. Like, you could see their breath evaporating, condensing when they were singing something, and I kind of completely understand why they did it. On the other hand, I don't think it necessarily showed the artists off in their best light.
Exactly.
Yeah. And on the plus side, though, even though they, you know, you could see their breaths, I guess at the same time, I guess that's their own kind of dry fog, so they still were kind of upping their staging a little bit. You have to kind of make do, okay? But, yeah, no, so Festivali Këngës was the 59th edition of that, and yes, it was won by Angela Peristeri with the song Karma. So... What do you individually think about, like, the winning song? Do you think that it deserved to win, or do you think that maybe another song should have won?
Okay, I'm gonna start this off. Personally, it wasn't my winner. My winner was Inez. I mean, she hit that note on the cold, and I was just mesmerized. But I also understand why Karma won. It looked very sleek, it looked very fresh, and it looked something that was ready for Eurovision. So I understood why the jury voted the way they voted. I didn't mind it, but, you know, personally for me, it was Ines, and it would have been nice for her to have placed within the top 3, but, you know, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And also, just a PS, just like a little blagging on here. We did Eurovision prediction, and let's just say more than 100 people are basically putting clown makeup as the results were revealed because we all got it wrong.
It was an interesting experience for me because it was my first Festivali Këngës watching. It's not something that I've really followed before, and it's really interesting hearing people talk about what it was like previously to what it was like this year. And yeah, Karma definitely wasn't my favorite. My favorite was actually Sardi, who came second, because I like a good angsty rock number, and it was just a really different thing to a lot of what was otherwise in the competition. And I feel like Karma stood out from a staging perspective. And I wrote the thing for for our website about it, and I said there that I feel like the staging is kind of an updated staging of Visionary Dream, and I stand by that, because you've kind of got that sort of beautiful woman in the middle, and then these sort of military style guards around her, and I like it. I think it's really clever. The song, I think, will probably grow on me. I just didn't stand out to me. And especially when I remember when Mal first came out a couple of years ago, and I heard it having just won Festivali Këngës, and I heard something that was so incredible and really hit me the first time I heard it. And Karma didn't do that for me. I still think I like it, but I don't think it's got that sort of impact, that immediate impact that I think is quite important for a Eurovision song.
Interesting. Very elaborate, I must say as well. Yeah, for me, Angela was not my winner of Festivali Këngës. I actually had two. Mine were Tier from Eviretsi, and the other one was Vashizo by Rosella Gilbegu. And I actually kind of liked Festivali Këngës like definitely a lot more this year than I have done in previous years, because the problem with Festivali Këngës so often is that it just goes on and it just doesn't stop. Like they have like an interaction between every single performer, you know? But the fact that this year Festivali Këngës seemed to be so much more well received, maybe it's just because it wasn't as long, or maybe it just wasn't as sort of pompous, I guess you could say, because Claire Durai has basically, the head of delegation for Albania, he said in an interview that they tried to make Festivali Këngës like the Albanian version of Sanremo. So that's why they tried to have it on over a course of several days, and just to make sure that, you know, that you're showing off the best case of Albanian music. I'm not going to lie. When I saw that Angela had won, I was a little bit skeptical. Not necessarily of the result, but just I wanted to see what the actual full results looked like. And apparently, according to the results, a lot of fan favorites, so for example, Murud, he came second last, which is kind of crazy, you know. I actually do believe, tell me if I'm wrong in saying this, but I believe that Murud, like Ness of This, sounded very kind of similar in terms of structure as Metana.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The way it built and the way that it kind of came down from, I guess, the drop, I guess, it just sounded so similar to Metana. But yeah, I mean, myself personally, I have to kind of listen to it a little bit more, I think, in order to get fully acquainted with it and see where it's going to sit. Of course, this is the first song that we've actually had that is 100% confirmed going to be in the contest. So we can't really comment on how well it's going to do in terms of qualification and stuff like that until later on when all of the other songs start to be released. However, I think it's a typical avenue for Albania to go down, you know, strong, independent woman with a kind of mid-tempo ballad banger kind of thing. But I think that there is potential, and I'm glad that they're keeping it in Albanian. We'll just have to wait and see what happens next in terms of the staging. So be prepared, I think that's the main thing that we can say, you know? So do we have any sort of final thoughts on Festivali Këngës just before we move on?
The horse was iconic.
Yeah.
Just the bit where it was my first experience of this show, and a woman just rode in on a white horse, and I was like, what the fuck have I gotten myself into?
To be fair, the iconicness of that was absolutely amazing.
We were discussing in the chat that we have amongst the four of us, like what picture shall we put for the Festivali Këngës article, and I was like, I'm just going to put the woman on the horse. Like, unless there's anything more iconic, I'm going to put the woman on the horse.
It was great. Also, I think it must also be said, the Pas Pak music will haunt us to our dying breath. Just not the vibe. It's just not the vibe.
Now I've got some Shanzana Success to compare it to as a jingle.
Shanzana
Success.
Oh god, I'm so thankful. Well, I mean, I say I'm thankful, but we don't know whether or not Poland's selecting Alicia next year or not. So we could end up having Shansa come back.
Oh no, please no.
Oh dear. Right, so we're going to move on from Festivali Këngës, and we're going to talk more now about the three countries that have over the course of, you know, December, have released the songs that they're going to have in their national selection. So to kick us off, we're going to go to Israel. So Israel has already selected Ed and Elena to represent them next year, carrying on from last year, which is absolutely fantastic. It's lovely to see that national broadcasters are still honoring their artists. And actually, at the time of recording today, the final 3 songs that are going to make it into Aiden's national selection were announced, actually. So we have Set Me Free, La La Love, and Ue La La. Ue La La. But yeah, it's like, what do you think of like the 3 songs in the contention? Do you think it's like a strong national final?
I'm just gonna start it off actually, by just saying, what on earth are these lyrics? Like for La La Love, you don't need to save me now, because love is my disease. I don't need no medication. I want to infect my generation.
Oh God.
What is
Can
with
I get a
lyrics?
yikes?
And I'm seeing some polls on Twitter. Like, I'm not going to drop any names, but like I'm looking at some polls, and people want La La Love to win.
Are they okay?
The problem is, when I was preparing for this episode and I had a listen to some of the songs, because I've not listened to the full demos, so I watched the video that Khan released of Eden singing the songs in the car, and La La Love was the only one she seemed to even know the words to, and I got big Cherry Red vibes from both of the other ones, where it's like, go on girl, give us nothing. And so I feel like I've got a better impression of La La Love than I think a lot of people have done, but also it doesn't especially bode well. And the one thing I did see earlier that I want to point out is I would like to give a shout out to the Twitter user Fake Eurovision News, who posted earlier today the most accurate statement. Look, just let me pick my fucking song, says Eden Elena on her 2021 participation. Yeah, I think it's a mess. I feel like they've got someone who is so incredibly talented and diverse and interesting as an artist, and given her the most dull, generic sort of music. And it's really disappointing. I would really like to see her do something better, because I know that she's capable of it. Every single song that was in last year's selection was better. So I'm baffled, to be quite honest. And I feel so disappointed for her more than anything else, because she's not going to do as well as she deserves to do with the talent that she has.
Yeah, I will say that I think the entire fandom kind of collectively voiced some kind of disgruntledness when all of the demos had come out, because there was this idea that, oh my god, you know, there's going to be another Roots, there's going to be another Fekker Lebi, there's going to be another Rakata, you know. And then the songs came out and it was just a bit really.
They were bad.
I will say there are a couple of songs in there that I did actually really enjoy. So, for example, my favorite actually was Ue La La or whatever, Wewe La La La. I'm just gonna call it Wewe La 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 from now on. But I also really did also like Coming Out as well. But other than that, there really wasn't much else in the way of proper songs that could actually stand out. So I'm kind of really wondering, like, a lot of this is going to have to come down to staging and whether or not, you know, Aiden actually wants to sing these songs, because like you were saying, Rosie, like in that one, she looked like she really just couldn't give a shit about, you know, the other 2 songs that weren't La La Love. So whether or not it's going to come down to it, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But what I'm really interested to know is, with these songs, do you think that like Israel could potentially keep the hype that they had last year, or do you think that maybe they might maybe start to be a borderline qualifier or borderline non-qualifier with these?
I think they're absolutely on the borderline. And yes, it's hard because we don't know what the staging looks like. We don't know what the final version of the song is going to look like. We don't know what the other songs it's going to be up against are. But it's really worrying that not one of these 3 songs has anything on any of the 4 songs that they had last year. And I think any of those would have been not a certain surefire qualifier, but certainly very, very high up in the odds. And I think these are definitely going to be borderline. And yes, like I say, it depends on who she's going to be up against and how they present it and how well she performs. But just from the songs alone, from what I've heard of them, it's really disappointing. And again, that's why I feel so bad for her.
I've just got a feeling like, I know they hosted 2019. Are they just wanting to avoid hosting it in 2022 because they think that they could have done better?
I mean, all they need to do for that is just have a really big boat party.
No.
I mean, that's just an out of the window context that I've got right here. I'm just like, okay, we're just wanting to participate, but you know, we don't really want to win again.
Oh yeah, I mean,
but you know, I need to hear the full versions. That's just the only thing I'm going to comment on that one. Just because 30 seconds, I mean, 50, I mean, not even 30, 15 seconds does not justify it.
I guess things will be a lot more interesting once the actual studio versions of Eden's voice have come out with the songs. So these are only like our first initial reactions. So who knows? Maybe when the actual national final has happened, we might have a little bit more to say. Maybe a little bit more positively.
Can I just say that I want to be proved wrong on this?
Yes,
I really,
please.
really want them to prove me wrong.
Please, Khan, please.
Yeah. And I think with Eden being like a really like strong performer, I think she has the potential to give a lot more personality to these songs that kind of didn't really have much in the demo version. So it'll be great to actually see them brought to proper life now.
Definitely.
But one thing I want to ask before we move on, I just want to ask them, where's the breakdown, please? Like, I want to see which one of those 2 songs are actually the ones that were selected by the vote and which one was the one that was selected by the jury. Please, all I'm asking for this transparency. I want to know who actually voted for what.
I'd love to know that as well. See which ones were really popular, because I know that Shoulders was quite popular, but other than that, it kind of was all a bit a sea of blood.
I mean, Shoulders was the one that was winning the Eurovision scoreboard, and look what happened.
Yeah, Can, if you could like release that information for us, that would be absolutely fantastic. We don't need you going down a BBC route here.
The results are singing Hooverphonic at you, and they want you to release them.
But the thing is, though, like, looking at Twitter, everybody is making a lot of jokes. I'm not gonna say what type of jokes, but like, there's a lot of jokes going around on Twitter about the songs already. But I'm not gonna go into detail because I don't think that's fair.
Oh, right. Okay. So now that we've spoken about all things Ed and Elena, we'll go to France, I think, because France is now going to be the next country, I believe, that we're going to be having a national final from, because it's supposed to be in January, so this month. So this is going to be fantastic. We're going to get another few songs now. So France chose not to go with Tom Leib. Some might say that's a fantastic idea. Some might say not otherwise. However, this year we have Eurovision, c'est vous qui décidez, which is Eurovision, you decide, which doesn't totally sound like something that the BBC had ever done before. But yeah, now we have a national final with 12 songs competing, and yeah, what do we think about the songs that are taking part in this national selection?
I think there's a lot of variety in there. I don't think there's a Eurovision winner in there. I think there are some songs in there that I really like. There are some songs I'm really excited to hear more of. But I don't think that there is anything in there that is so strong that it would compete for the title.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, for me, let's just say it's quite an improvement from Destination Eurovision. And I agree with Rosie. I don't think there's a winner in there, but they're all quite high caliber. But I need to see what it's competing with to make my full judgment.
Okay, yeah. Myself, I'm kind of along the same lines. I think there's not one that could really like be a contender, but I could still see a couple potentially giving them like a good result, because this is a big five country that we're talking about here. You know, a good result is anything higher than like 15th place. You know, but I think there are some songs in there. I think there's a lot of good quality. I don't know about you guys, but I have 3 songs from the selection that I listen to on a very regular basis, and they are Tutti by Casanova, Amour Fou by Pony X, and Voilà by Barbara Pravi. Barbara actually was the one to write the lyrics for J'imagine by Valentina, who ended up winning Junior Eurovision. So she knows what it takes now to obviously write a winning song. And I think she has the most chance of winning, I think. But again, it's very much one of those situations where we need to see more than just an audition tape, because that's kind of everything that we've seen so far, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a really diverse range of songs there. And I think I am quite excited to see how they end up being performed during the actual national final. I've seen a lot of hype for Voila, and also probably not quite as much hype, but still a lot of people talking about Alleluia and also Banon. So I think that there is a good range of acts in there. I also am with Rory and also really like Amour Fou. I think that's really cool. So I'm excited. It will be really interesting. And also, because I'm the sort of person that has the Wikipedia page up every time we record, there's some really interesting languages in there as well. So Meva is sung partially in Tahitian, and Tutti is partially sung in Corsican as well. So I just like that. I think that's cool.
I think it's nice as well because, you know, Maeva is kind of, it's to do with sort of Polynesian French, and you know, if you're a geopolitical nerd like me, you'll know that you know, French Guiana, all these places in the Caribbean, all these places in the Pacific, they still count as France. So it's great to see other types of French coming in there, and other types of people, which, you know, regularly do seem to be a bit overlooked. You know, the last time that we had Tahitian was Monaco 2006. La Coco dance, you know, and yeah, it's really interesting. Do you have any favorites, Tim?
I really like Banon. It's kind of that funky, edgy track that it's just kind of like you get to vibe with it. And the other one, it's because I reacted to these both as well, so I'm kind of a bit like judgy on these, but I'm gonna butcher this now. I'm gonna say this. Je t'en nombre d'once. I think I butchered that completely.
You did a fantastic job.
But like, I mean, like falsetto with an electro pop song. That's not that bad, especially with the high note. But also, I also like Maeva as well. It sounds something that's taken off a Disney film, which I'm living for.
Very Moana.
Yes, I see exactly what you mean.
Exactly. It's like it's just making me want to vibe and have a party and have like do like a hula dance or something.
Well, I'm hoping that soon enough we'll be able to have all of these live performances, and we'll be able to see how it's going to be portrayed, you know, because so far all that we have are audition tapes with the studio versions laid over it. So we need to have a little bit more time to see whether or not they can deliver these songs live, and if they can what their staging is going to be like. So there's a lot of potential, I think, in France to get a good result. Maybe not necessarily win, but still get a very respectable result. Hopefully something maybe along the lines of Patricia Cass, but that might be wishful thinking. But yeah, so now we're going to move from France all the way up to Estonia with Estilal. Now, Estilal is kind of interesting now this year because Estonia didn't automatically decide to send Uku Suviste, but offered him a chance to compete in Estilal this year, and that is, of course, what he's done. But we also have several other artists that have also managed to come out with their songs as well. So, what do you think about like sort of these songs in the national final? Do you think that Estonia has kind of kept up its level of sort of high quality music, or do you think it's kind of slipped down a little bit?
I feel like so far nothing's really stood out to me, but I also think again, it's another really diverse national selection, and I think there are some very, very interesting songs in there. And I listened to them again first time today, and so I'm kind of just going off initial impressions here, but I am so annoyed that Alabama Watchdog are so fucking problematic because I actually quite like the style, but I cannot back a song that is so horrifically bad in many other ways. But even then, I think there are some really interesting, exciting acts that are taking part, and I am very excited to actually sit down and watch Estilal. I think there are some really diverse bits and pieces in there, and I'm quite excited for it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, myself personally, I kind of like watching Estilal because I feel like Estilal is one of those sort of popular national finals that doesn't necessarily get enough credit for, you know, the amount of like work that these artists actually go through, and a lot of the time they're very chart friendly music. Some of like how you were saying though, I think it is a bit problematic to say the least that Alabama Watchdog are in it, given the fact that the lead singer of such band is an anti-COVID hoax, anti-mask, anti-vax person. It does taint it in quite a bad way.
And aren't the lyrics also transphobic?
Are they? I haven't actually read the lyrics. I can't really say if they are.
I've seen stuff about the lyrics being kinda yikes. I'll have a Google and see what it says.
Yeah, but yeah, I have again another 3 songs from Estilal that are quite, I do prefer more so than any of the others. Eliza 6, I think it's very interesting having French and Estonian as a mixture. It's an odd combination, but I think it really works. I also really like Time by Sissy. I really prefer this entry to her Estilal entry in 2019. This one I feel like has a lot more soul to it. It has a lot more conviction. And I think a lot more people can kind of relate to it a little bit more. And then my other favorite is, this could be a little bit of a wild card here, but I really like Tartu by Redel. And if you don't know who Redel are, they are 2 members of the band Winnie Pooh. And Winnie Pooh came so close to winning Estilal in 2013. And it was an absolute mess, that song, but I just like it. I think it's really, really interesting. And I know the lyrics are absolute shit. They're just basically saying, oh, Tallinn is a wooden city. Look how great Tartu is, you know, wooden and small like Viljandi. And it's like, great. I just like the way it sounds. I don't know. It's just as an aesthetician, whatever. But
I mean, we did have Nadav Gedge going on about showing us Tel Aviv 5 years ago, and he did well. So
there we go.
And he was in the actual live opening act for the grand final. So like that song has gone very well.
Yeah. Maybe if Redel went to Eurovision for Estonia and ended up winning, I think then we just never hear it's like, yes, we need to go to Tartu now.
Yeah, I've just looked up the lyrics for Alabama Watchdog, and it says, there ain't no girls if they're plugged online, if they eat those pills and the hormones fly. So it's not openly transphobic, but I can absolutely understand how it could be interpreted in that way.
Yeah, that it is a little bit problematic to say the least, I'd say.
So yeah, there we go.
You know what? I haven't listened to all of the songs yet, but the ones I've had to check out for comparison is Uku. And I think this is slightly better than What Love Is, because I'm just going to say it now. There's no way you can do worse than What Love Is. I'm sorry, Uku.
Yeah, the only way was up.
The only way is up. And then second of all, like a lot of returnees. So like you have Tanya, you have Eggert, you have Yuri, of course. So they've really upped their game since they last participated in Festivali or in other fact Eurovision. So I'm quite impressed. And also one little note thing that I just wanted to point out. Have you ever noticed that there's no songs where Stig Rasta was involved?
That's true. That's very true. They've realized that Stig Rasta just couldn't be involved anymore, so they just had to take him out. Oh dear. Well, do you know
maybe someone just didn't wake him up.
But the thing is, I didn't want to wake him up. Because let's be real, our love as a podcast just wasn't going to be enough. No, I mean, to be fair, he's had such an impact on Festivali for the last few years. You know, from 2015 to 2016, and then obviously, I think he had written for a couple of people in 2017, 2018, and 2019. Again, he was very much involved in the songwriting process. He took part again in 2020. I think it was only right that he kind of deserved a year off. But
I think we all deserve a year off after this year, to be quite honest.
Yeah,
yes.
Honestly, that's okay. I think we all deserve it. But you know what? Eurovision national final season waits for no man, so we just have to deal with it. But yeah, so these are pretty much the main sort of countries that have had their sort of national final songs to be released now. So far that's pretty much it. Although, didn't we have some new artists come out as well?
We did. So Cyprus have announced their artist, and we have the title of their song. So from Cyprus, we are having Elena Tsagrinou. I think that's sort of how you pronounce it. And the song is called El Diablo, which means the devil.
Ooh, I wonder what it's going to be.
And it means the devil in Spanish, not Greek or
not Greek, no.
Any other Cypriot language. But I mean, they did well with a Spanish title a few years back, so might as well try it again.
Okay, then I'm just gonna point out there's one thing I love about this song, and it's that I have a bit of a preference on the songwriters.
Okay.
And one of the songwriters for this one is Laura Barker.
Of course.
And yeah, and of course I'm in love with her songs, but I don't think everyone in the fandom does. I mean, there's still the argument of whether or not you can understand the chorus for Braid by Hannah Firm. So,
well,
I feel like it's really interesting now. We've had that. I don't know if anyone's heard, but the Eurotrip podcast released an interview with Lee Smithhurst, who is, I think, now the head of delegation for the UK. Yeah, and he was talking. So there's sort of this previous mythology about how the BBC rejected Nobody But You a couple of years ago, which ended up being performed by Caesar Sampson and came third and won the jury vote. And it was a really interesting article coming out because it did give an insight into how the songwriting and the song submission process works for songwriters in Europe, and how often songwriters will prefer their songs to be used by countries that do internal selections, because that means they have a certainty of being performed on the Eurovision stage and not just being a chance of going through a national final and winning. And it's kind of fascinating seeing how we have all of these writers from different Eurovision countries that are sort of now prolific. So Stefan Raab, Laurel Barker, Kirkorov, the Dream Team. It does cast that in a new light for me, and I find it really interesting thinking of things through that particular new sort of lens. And generally the interview is really interesting, so thanks to our friends at the Eurotrip podcast for that, I guess.
Thank you very much for that. I would need to get listening onto that, so because I'd seen that there was some kind of drama to do with like Nobody But You, but I didn't actually read the article, so I kind of need to see what the situation is. But also, I was just having a look as well, and not only have we got our first new artist as well, we also have had a few actual artists from 2020 confirm. Most notably, the legendary Miss Leslie Roy, who we have had on this podcast.
Yes!
So we are so happy to have her back as well, because Leslie Roy is just an absolute babe, and we couldn't think of Eurovision without her.
I'm delighted. I'm so excited.
It's lovely. And we've also 100% had Hurricane also confirmed for Serbia as well. So that was beautiful. But yeah, so that's pretty much everything that's gone on since we've kind of, been on a break for a while, I guess you could say. So, like I was saying at the start of the podcast, we're going to make this a little bit more news recap based, just so you can get a little bit more of our own individual opinions about certain things. So just be prepared for that. We still will have a few maybe country or year retrospectives along the way, but this will be the majority of what it's focused for. But do we have any sort of final points just before we wrap things up?
Can't wait for 2021. Like, it's gonna happen whether or not there's a lockdown. So that's the only thing I'm looking forward to.
I have nothing else to live for.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit sad to think how much energy I put into this contest.
Exactly.
But you know what? I couldn't have imagined doing a podcast any better than with us four. So it's great.
Aww.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah, so while we're getting all soppy and everything, we shall leave you to it. So so that shall be the end of this week's episode of That Eurovision Podcast. I'd really like to thank Rosie and Tim for, recapping everything that's been going on. And special shout out to Jazzy as well, who also live tweeted during Festivali Këngës as well, so we very much appreciate all of her help that's been going on there, and we hope that she's doing well wherever she is, finding something better, like taking words out of Soft Engine's mouth, but whatever. But yeah, so in the meantime, please do continue to follow us on all of our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at That Euro Podcast. We're also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well, so please do follow us there so you always get notified for whenever a new episode comes out. And yeah, in the next few weeks, we'll be carrying on these recap things. And I'm just excited just to get into national final season. It's going to be a really, really fun time. But so shall we all say goodbye?
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.